Now to Marietta Square. KSU News Now reporter Taylor Jeffries talks about the most haunted places in the Southeast. Taylor?
That's right. Here at the Marietta Museum of History, there are said to be more than 700 ghosts residing in this building alone. In Marietta Square, across the street from ice cream shops, theaters, and restaurants, stands a building that has more history than the entire square. But it is said to have had more ghosts. This is Kennesaw House. The name used to be Fletcher, but as time passed, the name has changed. Kennesaw House was built around 1845 as a cotton warehouse. The idea was back in those days the trains weren't always as reliable, so people would store their cotton here and wait for the train. It was only 4 stories at that time, but now it has 3. In 1855, the building transformed into a hotel. People from the south would flock to Marietta for a break from the scorching summers, and people north would retreat during the frozen winters. The hotel changed again when war came. The executive director at the Marietta Museum of History, Jan Galt, said Kennesaw House became a hospital during the war between the states for both sides. Because of the devastation of the casualties of the war, many believe the building is haunted.
Sure, there were quite a few that passed away from their injuries while they were here. So that's gives you a lot of things.
On April 12, 1862, the Kennesaw House became the start of something huge. The Great Locomotive Chase began at Kennesaw House. James J. Andrews led a group of military men to board the train The General at Kennesaw House. Once they were at Big Shanty, now called Kennesaw, everyone on the train got off, including the conductor. Andrews and his men seized the moment and boarded the train and headed north. Their plan? They were going to cut off supplies to the south and try to end the war early. Jan even said if Andrews had succeeded, the war would have been over a year or 2 early, but they were captured just before hitting Chattanooga. Andrews and a few of his men were hanged, meant to make an example of. Others were taken to prison. The men were given the first Medal of Honor, but since Andrews was a civilian, he received nothing after he died. When General Sherman came to town and torched the town, he kept Kennesaw House away from the flames. The owner of what was then called the Fletcher House was a Union sympathizer, and so Sherman kept the building safe. Except some flames from the surrounding areas made its way to the top of the building, and its 4th floor went up in flames. It just so happened the 4th floor was where the morgue was. Lindsay Coleman, owner of Ghosts of Marietta, has done tours around the Kennesaw House for years. When asked if the morgue being burnt could have anything to do with the ghost being trapped in the building, she said, "I don't know."
I personally have not seen anything on one of my tours. I have lots of people who come on as guests and they come back with crazy pictures. And a couple times being at Kennesaw House, people have seen figures walking behind me within the house.
There are many stories of murders that happened here at Kennesaw House. One is of a man who was very prominent in the city. Technically, there are 2 stories to this. One is that he was dining at Kennesaw House. He just randomly died. But Jan said, according to family legend, he was dining with a woman when her husband came up and shot the man, killing him right there. The ghost stories are just as strange. This is Fletcher's wife. The story goes that one time, a tour of Kennesaw House was happening, and this young girl saw a woman staring at her. She went to her mom and told her, but her mom didn't notice anything. Later on, they talked about this woman, and the little girl tugged on her mom's hand and said, "Mommy, that's the woman." Although there are many ghosts who are said to haunt these halls, those at the Marietta Museum of History don't worry. Jan Galt is the person the security company calls when something goes bump in the night. She goes at all times and says she's never been worried. In fact, she believes the ghost might be more Casper than anything scary.
We always laugh. Our joke is that if we are haunted, they're friendly ghosts because none of us have ever been slumped.
At the Marietta Museum of History, I'm Taylor Jeffries for KSU News Now.